Hey guys, my name is Josephine Souza, and I am going to be sharing my lesson here with you today. So I teach 8th grade ELA, so I knew I wanted to look at the figurative language standard for that grade. And the standard I'm going to be doing is demonstrate understanding of figurative language, word relationships, and nuances in word meanings. This builds upon the 7th grade standard in which they first dive into figurative language, and then we do some reinforcements in 8th grade. So this is our initial slide, just giving a bit of a basis of what is figurative language versus literal language. I found this is really important with my 8th graders. They don't always understand what those two phrases means when presented with them. However, once you get into the definitions, they tend to have a better idea. Our first technological component here is on this picture here. If we go ahead and give that a click, it's a link to a Khan Academy video on figurative language. We'll give it a second to load here. So as you can see, it's on figurative language. It gives a basic introduction to figurative language, as well as goes over the specific terms that I go over in my presentation. Come on back here. Now, I did do all of this as a pear deck because I think it's imperative to do check-ins with your students along the way in the lesson, especially in something that is going to come up on the CASP test. You want to make sure that these kids are getting it as early and as securely as possible. So this is just a very straightforward yes or no. Figurative language means exactly what it says. Have the kids follow along with me. There you go. The first term I have here is simile. We have our definition and example. And then the practice I have them come up with is, again, using Pear Deck. I'm having them type in and come up with an example of simile. It is by far the easiest of the figurative languages. It's the one that kids are most familiar with. So that's why this is probably the most advanced practice that you'll see in this particular presentation. Then we get into metaphor, and then again, Pear Deck is asking the students to go ahead and drag the icon to the correct answer for the practice. So explaining whether it's a simile or metaphor. Again, this is important because students tend to get these two mixed up. And so we want to make sure and solidify the difference between the two terms. Then we get into personification. So for this one, they get to draw a picture. So they're going to be coming up with an example of personification and then drawing a picture to depict it. Then we get into hyperbole, which is our exaggerated statements. For this one, they're going to be finishing the phrase in order to create a hyperbole. Kids oftentimes really enjoy hyperbole, so this should be a fun one for them. Again, this is a write your response. Then we get into illusion. This one tends to throw students for a loop. They're not entirely certain about this one when they come across it out of context of the lesson. So we have some matching activity here where they're going to match the quote to the illusion origin. So on the right here, I have the Bible, historical figures, Greek mythology, and literature. These are some of the more common places that we see illusion being used. And so they're going to be making those connections there. And then we get to do our good old flashcard factory. So all of the terms that you saw in the presentation will then be utilized in the Pear Deck flashcard factory, which will then be a partner project that the kids will go ahead and do. And we'll spend enough time so that way we can create a full class set. And then finally, we get into our independent practice. So using Padlet, which I will open that in just a moment, they're to come up with their own imaginative example of the terms that we use. They need to create a post with the figurative language as the title, and then put the example in the body of the post. Then they need to connect their post to somebody else's post with the same figurative language. So if we go ahead and open this up, we'll see we have our Padlet here. They'll go ahead and come down here. Let's say we had a simile. Let's say we had another simile. And then they can go ahead and connect it. And then it just awaits my approval. But yeah, that's about it. Thank you so much for watching.